let's talk about the Olympics closing ceremony, which had an ancient alien theme, but it was an alien in the future. So this Baphomet gold looking alien comes to Earth after having discovered the Voyager spacecraft golden discs, which they say were made in France. Now, the ceremony was held in Paris, which is named after Isis. Now, the Lucifer figure is actually the illumination of man. So out of duality, out of understanding the duality, you become illuminated, enlightened. And this is the symbol of the gold Baphomet. So what this is really talking about is alchemy, how man can become God, or closer to God, through the understanding of good and evil. As I say, these people practice both sides, the dark and the light, and they practice satanic rituals, and then they slay the serpent, they slay the lower self, in order to reach enlightenment, to see the light. You can only see the light once you've experienced the dark. And it all seems connected to rituals which involve stimulating the pineal gland, and this is why we had Dionysus, or Bacchus, in the first part of the opening ceremony. And it was in these Dionysian rituals where you had the satanic practices of the Hellfire Club. And it's all about altered states of consciousness, because they believe that a higher power has been behind man's ascent, that a intelligence beyond the terrestrial has been behind man's ascent and has given man intelligence and this capacity to have altered states of consciousness and talk to other entities through that altered state of consciousness. And it's all to do with the idea of man becoming God through the knowledge of Lucifer and becoming enlightened. And this is why we have the gold Baphomet figure, who comes down to Earth after seeing the Voyager discs, and he recollects the Olympic rings and assembles them. And one of the rings has an all-seeing eye, so this is the great work. It is on a map of the world, and the map of the world looks like a knight with a spear. So he comes down to Earth, and he actually looks like he has palms sticking out of him. And then we had the music, The Resurrected Phoenix. But the stage set looked like a knight. The countries together looked like a knight from a distance. So these actually looked like a knight with a spear. I think it was the knight Saint Denis, or Saint Denis. So France's version of Saint George. And you have the 7 Knights of Christendom, 7G of Freemasonry. What they're telling you is that this is a Knights Templar with a secret knowledge. And then we had the Baphomet alien falling to Earth and resurrecting the Olympic flame, the flame of Lucifer, of enlightenment. And it seems that the William Shakespeare seems to be connected with the UFO encounters. And so the crash site of the Roswell crash site was called the Corona Debris Field. Is it possible that the William Shakespeare contains something non-human? Now, the Olympics, you had the trans debate, and this is all about transhumanism. And it seems that they want to transform the human being into something else, and that it will be part human, part AI, and part something else. And what the elites seem to believe is that man is there to give birth to this intelligence that has been within man secretly, and man is giving birth to it. So it's all connected to Madame Blavatsky and Theosophy and the seed races. The seed races. And that this transhuman race is the next race of Lucifer, of the higher enlightened man, which is connected to this UFO phenomenon. And this seemed to be shown in the Olympics. Now they went to so there it looks like a knight on a horse with a spear, a Shakespeare. Knights Templar, Baphomet, fallen alien, fallen angel. And then we had Snoop Dogg, and it said LA 28, and we had the palm trees. The palm trees are a symbol of the Temple of Solomon. Now this reminded me actually of La Palma, with the LA and the palm trees, and it featured Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Now is Snoop Dogg a reference to the star Sirius, which is the star of Isis, as I say, the star of Lucifer, enlightenment. And then he goes on to sing with Dr. Dre in front of palm trees. Now we have an interesting date, August the 28th, which is another 8/8 date, which is the start of the Paralympics. So we had Dr. Dre, who was in the band YMCA, and he was famous for the song "We Are the Police." And in that song, you actually have the debut of Eminem, Master Mason, and he actually does the All Seeing Eye. That's his first appearance in a pop video. And we have Snoop Dogg, who took the flame back to America, and is he going to use the flame as a lighter? But anyway, I saw this LA 28. It reminded me of La Palma with the palm trees. The palm trees come from the Temple of Solomon, and they're symbols of the resurrected phoenix. And we had that theme in the Olympics closing ceremony. We also had that theme in the 2012 Olympics, where you had the phoenix at the end rising from the cauldron. And we had a crown bug ritual. Is it all connected? Because it seems that the trans agenda is connected to the UFOs and something beyond this world. And this seems to be revealed by the author John Wyndham in his books, Day of the Triffids, which predicts the crown bug and an artificial meteor, and he wrote the book The Midwich Cuckoos, whereby a town in England has children which are extraterrestrial via the Immaculate Conception of its female villagers. And they have different powers, and they are like a cuckoo within the human. And he says that that is an interesting idea. Now, do the elite actually believe, as we see in the ancient aliens and the Star Child's skull, and all these people seem to be connected to each other and connected to theosophy, that humans have been engineered by another intelligence, and that intelligence is actually within us, and our role is to give birth to it, like the bird gives birth to the cuckoo. And this higher intelligence is the next step of man's transformation, metamorphosis into the golden Baphomet figure, which represents the gold of alchemy. Now we have this painting by Carlo Crivelli in the National Gallery. Shows you the dove of Isis, the third eye, and we have what looks like some kind of UFO in the sky. So it's obviously there. So it's obviously connected to the idea of the pineal gland. Now this is what they're always telling us in Ancient Aliens. Remember that in the film E.T., which was made by Spielberg, E.T. points to the boy's pineal gland and says he'll be right there. You also have the famous poster with E.T. touching the boy's hand with an illuminated finger, showing that E.T. is God. And we had this in the LA Olympics, and we had this in the Euro 2024 as well. We had the alien, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind in the Euros, and now we had it in the Paris Olympics, and it's all connected to the Phoenix. And so we had Carl Sagan, and I made a video on Carl Sagan showing how Carl Sagan admitted in the 1980s that there was a Planet X, and he also discussed that man's ascent has been due to some kind of interdimensional intelligence. Now, if we look at Carl Sagan, he went to the same university, and I think was in the same class as this man, Stanton Terry Friedman, who was the leading expert in UFOs, and both of them come from the same backgrounds. They are both beeps connected with that country in the Middle East, and it is that country which has the symbol of alchemy on its flag, and it is that country that is pushing this idea that aliens are visiting Earth the most, and this is all connected to the transhuman movement. So Carl Sagan and Stanton Friedman went to the same university, and I think we're in the same class, and they both had this interest in extraterrestrial life. Now, is the kipper on the hat on the head, it is there to show respect to God. That seems to indicate that God is above man. Is the kipper a UFO? Now we're just throwing out ideas there, okay? But this is all connected to the program Ancient Aliens. They are funding it. AA11, 1-1 duality. Together is the three, is synthesis, is Isis, is Lucifer, is man's ascent to godhood up the ladder. We have Harvard scientist from Israel, Avi Loeb, pushing the idea that humans have been visited by aliens. We have Uri Geller, who is a member of DASOM, and it seems that they are pushing these ideas where humans will be interbred with a interdimensional intelligence via transhumanism. We have the first trans MP, Jamie Wallace, and his doctorate was in panspermia. Pan is the son of Hermes, Hermes Trismegistus, and the occult knowledge that comes from ancient Egypt. Hermes was Thoth. Pan is considered the son of Hermes, or even Hermes himself, and Pan was the goat Baphomet god in the Dionysian rituals. Panspermia, that Earth was seeded from space. They're also pushing the idea that life didn't originate on Earth and that life itself has an inbuilt program, an inbuilt intelligence. And this was the first trans MP, Jamie Wallis, who has a doctorate in the subject of panspermia and who studied in Cardiff under the leading lecturer of this theory. And he becomes the first trans MP, promoting the idea of panspermia. Is it all linked? We have ancient aliens, AA11, AI, the I in the capstone, and this man is a regular guest who seems to be wearing a syrup. But he is actually one of the leading figures of the Rosicrucian movement. The Rosicrucians wrote Shakespeare, John Dee, Francis Bacon, created America. It's obvious that they are one of the main funders of ancient aliens. John Dee believed he got his knowledge from the Book of Enoch. He believed in Atlantis, he believed in extraterrestrials. Giordano Bruno also believed in extraterrestrials. And we have this leading figure of the Rosicrucians who is constantly on ancient aliens. So we had the Olympics, where we had the golden